Lisa Jakub is a former child, and I say former, it's important here, a former child actor and author. She's a Canadian-American actress and writer, and probably best known as she played the older sister in Mrs. Doubtfire, one of my all-time favorite movies. And Lisa is going to be speaking at MVCC on Thursday, October 27th at 7 p.m. It'll be at the Schaefer Theater Information Technology Building. And Lisa Jakub is on the line with us right now. Lisa, good morning.
Hey, Bill. How are you?
It's great to have you on the air this morning. I loved the movie, Mrs. Doubtfire, and you were awesome. And I got to tell you something. That movie, for me, I was in the middle of a family court issue, and while the movie was supposed to be funny and, it tugged you, it was incredibly emotional for me because it, hit home. I was right in the middle of that. It was a pretty powerful movie.
Well, I think we were all pretty proud of that, actually, because not a lot of movies up until that point had dealt with divorce very honestly.
Yeah.
And that was something that was really important to us. Actually, the ending had the potential to change. The studio was kind of thinking maybe Robin and Sally should get back together at the end, but Robin and the director felt really strongly that we wanted to deal with this in a real way to show people that there can be different kinds of families.
And Robin Williams, of course. That was such a tragic story.
Yeah, that's still hard for me to realize that he's gone. He was beyond being incredibly talented. He was just such a good person that you wanted to have lunch with him. You wanted to hang out with him because he was such a caring individual, and he was very generous. And it's hard to believe he's gone.
There was, it seems now, his wife just came out with an open letter to fans and to people and just basically the American public and the world, really, about the mental illness that he suffered. And it was very difficult to diagnose, but it was a war for him, it seemed, especially towards the end. But a guy that everybody says, and you would know because you were on set, just was always happy and always making people laugh.
Yeah, but what was really interesting about Robin is that he was not on all the time. That was his persona, but he was a regular person. He could have a regular conversation. He was a little shy. He was very sweet. So, there was that other side to him. And I really feel like talking about mental health issues is incredibly important. I still think there's sort of this shroud of shame around that. Personally, I have an anxiety disorder. I've dealt with depression. And I think it's really just vital for people who are struggling to feel like we can not feel ashamed and to talk openly about this stuff because that's what helps us get better.
You've left acting, and it was because of your social anxiety?
There were a lot of reasons for me to leave acting. I was an actor for 18 years. I started when I was 4 years old, and by the time I was 22, I just didn't feel like it was my authentic path anymore. Yeah. There are some wonderful things about the film industry, but it's a job. There are some not so great things, too, and I think after 18 years, a lot of people decide maybe they want to do something different with their careers and with their lives, and that's the point that I got to. Definitely the public nature of being an actor, the paparazzi, tabloids, all of that stuff definitely were an issue for me, and I realized the more I worked, the less I liked my life. Yeah. So it really got to be time that I needed to reassess that for myself. Wow. And I decided it was time to change my mind and try something new.
Especially the fact that you've done it since you were 4 years old. I mean, it's not like so many others that become famous when they're 16 or something like that. It was a grind from the beginning. We are talking to Lisa Jakub, and she has a book out, and we're going to get into that coming up. She, of course, most famous for the movies Mrs. Doubtfire and also Independence Day. Andrew with a question.
So did you ever keep in touch with Robin after the film, and maybe did you have the chance to talk to him about some of the issues that you were going through? Did he ever kind of open up to you that he had these feelings, or was it always did he keep it to himself?
Robin was very honest talking about what was going on with him. On Doubtfire, he used to talk to Matt Lawrence and I. Matt played my brother. And he would talk to us about his struggles with addiction. And I think he was very much trying to warn us. That's unfortunately kind of a well-worn path for many child actors. And so he was always very open with us about the struggles that he had. So, yeah, it was definitely something that we talked about.
So, and you're right, boy, with the child actors, so many have gone down such a terrible path. And there's all this fame, and then, I don't know what it is. By the way, you're very beautiful, and every time I say that now, I feel like Donald Trump. I'm sorry. But you...
I won't take it that way.
Don't take it that way.
I
am not being creepy. What I'm saying, though, is I see so many, especially guys that sometimes will grow up and they're so cute, Macaulay Culkin, when they're young, and then when they grow up, they don't have that same cuteness, and all of a sudden Hollywood turns their back on them, and they're left there with nothing. And I can't imagine what that's like.
I do think there is a lot of pressure. I do think that money is a weird thing when you're a kid. Money can be weird enough when you're an adult, and dealing with that when you're a kid is even stranger. I think the attention can definitely be a complicated issue. But I also think that there are a lot of us former child actors who turned out fine.
Right.
That's just not a grabby headline.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I also think that there are a lot of people who have, quote unquote, normal jobs. Who go off the deep end.
Yeah.
But that doesn't get headlines either. So I think it's a bit of a mixture. I think it is an intense job that is very much based on superficial things.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of us who kind of just decide to take a different path, we do it kind of quietly.
I want to talk about the event that's coming up on October 27th over at MV. It'll be at 7 p.m. and it's very interesting. So you have social anxiety. Do you I myself feel that I'm a shy person, and I know that's going to shock. You're rolling your eyes.
In the words of Donald Trump. Lie.
Okay.
That is not true.
No, it's different. It's different being on the air than...
And Lisa, you can talk about this. When I'm on the air, when I'm up on stage, or I have to do something with a microphone, it's what I do. But off the stage, it's a different world. Can you talk about that?
It's so interesting because a lot of people ask me this, and especially when I was an actor. I am very introverted. I am pretty shy. I really like to stay in my house and wear sweatpants. That's just kind of who I am. And first of all, a lot of actors are that way. And when we are acting, you put on a mask. You are pretending to be somebody else. So that kind of creates a little bit of a barrier that is a little bit more comfortable for us. In terms of what I'm doing now, talking to students, colleges, high schools, conferences, that sort of thing, every time I do it, I am absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
This is not something that I do easily, but what I've realized is that I really enjoy that connection. I'm talking about things that I'm really passionate about. I'm talking about, finding your authentic path, even if it's different than what other people expect of you. I'm talking a lot about anxiety, depression, mood disorders, all of that stuff. So it is more rewarding than it is terrifying, which is actually saying a lot because it's quite terrifying. But I think that's what makes it worth it for me. So it's not easy. It's not something that I do without being very, very nervous. But I find the end result and the connection is something really profound for me, and it's the whole reason that I write. Is let's talk about things.
Yeah.
Let's be a little bit more open about those issues that tend to get people tongue-tied.
Well, it allows you to express yourself within your comfort zone, right? And especially writing the book is what I'm talking about. I'm going to ask you.
Can you also talk about how it would affect your life? Maybe some triggers that you found triggers in your life that would trigger this anxiety, and how you coped with it.
Sure. So I do have social anxiety, and it's interesting to think about where that potentially comes from. It could just be me and who I am. There are definitely kind of genetic things that make you more prone towards anxiety. But also, I became fairly recognizable when I was 15 years old, which maybe sounds fun, but it can be really difficult. There can be a lot of hugging and grabbing and people coming up to you out of nowhere, and it seems fun, but it's kind of a recipe for agoraphobia.
Yeah.
So that was something that I think lingers a little bit for me. And honestly, what I have found to be the most wonderful thing, first of all, therapy. Like therapy. I feel like everybody should be in therapy because it can be so beneficial to just get outside perspectives. But
I
also
agree with that.
meditation and yoga have been really helpful for me. And what those things do, first of all, they teach you how to breathe, because those of us with anxiety, we kind of forget to breathe. And that can be just really bad. Obviously, breathing is important. But it reminds you to take a little bit of space between when something happens and you just go into a knee-jerk reaction about it.
Right.
You can take some time and reflect and then respond to the situation. And that, in a lot of cases, can keep me from having a panic attack. Because that's not fun. That pretty much feels like you're dying.
And would you have those panic attacks? And have you ever had a panic attack in public? Which can be very difficult and embarrassing in itself.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. I have had many panic attacks in public. At my worst, I was having 3 panic attacks a day.
Wow.
So it got pretty severe for a while. I have been carried out of restaurants and bars and art galleries because I have had some sort of panic attack out in the world. I don't tend to have them at home because that's not where my triggers are.
Yeah, you have a comfort zone.
So, exactly. So learning how to have those tools, really, to catch the anxiety when it is low enough that I can step back and go, okay, hold on. Here are 3 things that I can do right now to try to bring the anxiety down.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't get anxious anymore. It's just that I now have learned some different things that I can do to make it a little bit easier. And I think those are things that are so helpful for people, whether or not you have been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder like me, or you just get a little stressed out. Like, who doesn't get a little stressed out sometimes? Yeah. And I think that the tactics are the same.
As people listen, we all might have little elements, whether it's being a little more introverted or shy, or but then, as you describe, having these panic attacks and 3 times a day, that has to be something that's life changing for you. And you can see how you could be inspired to say, "But I got to get out of this. I can't do this anymore."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's time to really take a hard look at what's going on and really decide to do the work. Talking
to Lisa Jakub, and she will be at the Mohawk Valley Community College coming up on Thursday, October 27th, talking about social anxiety. Quickly, the book, I love the title. You Look Just Like That Girl. You Look Like That Girl is the title of the book. So talk about that, and I'm assuming you get that a lot.
I do get that a lot. It's sort of amazing to me. I was 14 when we filmed Mrs. Doubtfire. I am now 37, and I still get people who come up to me and say, "You look like that girl." And, sometimes I will, depending on my social anxiety level, sometimes I will just say, yeah, that's so funny. I get that a lot. And then I sort of run out of the room.
Yeah.
But, other times I fess up, and people are usually very lovely about it. But there is something about that movie, I think, that has stuck. And now I'm, talking to kids who they were definitely not born when the movie was filmed, and they still love it. So it seems to hold up amazingly well.
That movie came out right after we lost a custody trial. It was brutal for me to sit and watch that movie, and I didn't know to expect it. We were watching it's Robin Williams. It's going to be a comedy. It's very funny, and then the storyline was. I mean, it was for me. If I were to say one of the more powerful movies in my life was Mrs. Doubtfire, people were like, "What are you talking about?" But it did have and we talked about that at the start of this. It had a deep storyline that really was never addressed in the way that this movie addressed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so what will you talk to people about? I mean, obviously, students there. This is a great opportunity for people to hear from somebody else that goes through some struggles.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to be talking some about, anxiety, depression, some tools that can help if that's something that you're having a hard time with, just general stress in your life. And I'm just going to be talking about my experiences and making that decision to leave Los Angeles and stop being an actor, even though it was all I had known for my entire life, and making that decision even though everybody told me I was crazy. But I really felt that there was a life out there that I could feel more passionate about what I was contributing to the world, and I needed to go figure out what that meant.
It seems like you're very happy, and it seems like you made the right decision.
Thank you. I feel like I have. This being a writer thing is making me very happy, and I love having the chance to do this kind of stuff and connect with people and talk to them about their stories as well.
Well, you hear a lot more on Thursday, October 27th, when Lisa will be at Mohawk Valley Community College. You can go to the lisajakub.net, JAKUB.net for details. And Lisa, we really appreciate you getting up and coming on this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
She, I guess, again, will be October 27th. That movie was really, I think I might watch it again over the weekend. No, I don't need that drama in my life. I'm well past that.